I'm Matt Smith right now on Upfront. 79 days to go, the race to November. Control of the U.S. Senate hangs in the balance. We're one-on-one on the campaign trail with Senator Ron Johnson fighting for a third term. How close will this race be?
It's Wisconsin. It's going to be close. I take nothing for granted.
The interview just moments away. Then the Gableman fallout, the firing, the renewed calls to audit his office of special counsel. State Senator Melissa Agard standing by with the Democrats' demands. And the polling, the snapshot before Labor Day. Who's up, who's down, and what does it all mean?
Taking on the issues important to Wisconsin. This is Upfront.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Matt Smith. The gloves coming off, campaigning for the November general well underway this weekend, and you are already seeing it everywhere. A new prediction out this past week, at least $344 million will be spent on ads in Wisconsin this cycle. The group Ad Impact projecting $126 million in the governor's race and $159 million in the race for U.S. Senate. Nationwide, it's expected to surpass previous records even for presidential cycles. An already incredible nationwide interest in our race for U.S. Senate. Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes with a lead in a new Marquette Law School and Fox News poll out this past week. This is We Are on the Trail with Senator Ron Johnson.
Pat, how you doing, sir?
Glad to meet you, Ron.
Senator Ron Johnson is fighting for his political future.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you. What's your name?
In one of the most closely watched and most consequential U.S. Senate races in the country.
Do we have enough volunteers?
I'm getting there.
Okay.
Yeah, I can always use more. So
It's how we assure election integrity.
Johnson on the campaign trail not only defending but promoting his record and nearly 12 years in office for a candidate despised by Democrats and beloved by his Republican base. From what I know of you, you're not the biggest fan of Washington, not the biggest fan of career politicians.
You picked up on that, huh?
I did a little bit, but you're running for a third term. Why?
Because our nation's literally being torn apart. It was my very strong preference, my wife's very, very, very strong preference to serve out that second term and go home. But even I did not anticipate the disaster that the Biden administration would be and Democrat policies and Democrat governance would be. You know, we've always heard President Obama said it, President Biden said it, they're going to fundamentally transform this country. I always ask, do you even like, much less love, something you want to fundamentally transform? But
Do you think Democrats don't like?
No, they're leaders. No, I think most people love this country. How could they not?
Johnson also looking to define not only himself, but his opponent, Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes.
In this race, it's a very clear choice. You can vote for somebody like myself who voted against all the massive deficit spending that sparked the 40-year high inflation. Or you can vote for somebody who supports that, supports the tax increases in the last bill, supports low bail. That was a policy that, let's face it, that let out the Waukesha Christmas Parade massacre murderer. Okay, so there's a clear choice, clear difference in terms of the policies that myself and Mandela Barnes support.
As you know, Democrats are painting you as a rich guy who has gone to Washington to cut tax breaks for your billionaire friends. You're now looking to gamble with Social Security.
That's completely false characterization. It's a grotesque distortion. You know, of the two candidates, I'm the guy that did work shift work all the way through college and paid my way through college. Then when I started my business, we traded off, we say 12-hour shifts. It was more like 16-hour shifts as we got the operation running and hired supervisors. I started working at my first tax-paying job at the age of 15. I know I've been in manufacturing for 30 years. I know full well the struggles that Wisconsinites are having based on these Democrat policies. But one of the most grotesque distortions is the tax cut I got for 95% of American businesses. You know, all the Main Street businesses, all the little guys that have to compete against the C-Corps, that's what I accomplished. Even under, again, Republican tax reform, they were going to leave behind 95% of American businesses, except I said, no, I'm not going to vote this. I bucked my party. You know, I was very independent. I took all the guff from, in some cases, Wisconsin Talk Radio. Certainly I got the snarly phone calls from the Oval Office. They weren't happy with me. But I stood my ground, and as a result, those Main Street businesses also got a tax cut. More than 20 million tax filers took advantage of that. It wasn't a deal for me and a couple rich buddies. I mean, that's a grotesque and dishonest distortion. I got a tax cut for 95% of American businesses to allow them to compete with the big guys. and survived the pandemic. I'm very proud of that achievement.
Is this a referendum on your time in the Senate, this race?
I think it's more of a referendum on Democrat policies and
The Biden
governance.
administration?
I think so.
There's a lot of issues that could come between now and November outside of your control and the campaign's control. The January 6th committee is scheduling more hearings, likely in September. Have you been asked to testify? Would you testify?
No, I had nothing to do with January 6th.
If they asked you to testify, though, would you?
What would they ask me to testify about?
The Republican electors and the slate.
Again, it's another grotesque distortion. I had nothing to do with the alternate slate. I had no idea that anybody was going to ask me to deliver those. My involvement in that attempt to deliver spanned the course of a couple seconds. I think I fielded 3 texts and sent 2 and talked to my chief of staff that somebody wants you to deliver something. Yeah, I knew nothing about it. In the end, those electors were not delivered because we found out from Vice President's staff they didn't want them delivered. End of story. Again, I know that's been blown out of proportion.
You think so?
The January 6th committee didn't do their due diligence, and they blew this into like some massive conspiracy. Again, I had like virtually no involvement. Literally, my involvement lasted seconds. Okay.
If the Vice President's chief of staff wouldn't have said, don't deliver these, would you have brought that document to the Vice President?
In what way could have I? Again, we did our due diligence. So somebody handed us something. We're supposed to deliver to the Vice President. Does he want it? Nope. Okay, end of story. That was it.
The courts here in Wisconsin could rule on the state's abortion ban, or could that court action could be going through. Federally, should Congress do more on abortion? Should there be a federal ban on abortion, or is this completely a state issue at this point in your mind?
Yes, it should be decided by we the people in each individual state. And I've said repeatedly that the decision that has to be made on a state-by-state basis is at what point does society have the responsibility to protect life? And again, I have my views, but I didn't want 9 Supreme Court justices to decide that for everybody. I really don't want 535 members of Congress to decide that for the nation. I really want the people, through their elected representatives in the state, to decide that on a state-by-state basis.
Senator Baldwin has been working to codify same-sex marriage after the Supreme Court ruling on Roe. I know she's had some discussion with you. She told us they're working on an amendment in terms of concerns over religious freedom. Where are you on this?
Well, that is the concern right there. Yeah. And it's a very legitimate concern.
Does the amendment fix that, or
I've got to see their amendment. We're working on an amendment as well. So before I'd ever support that, again, it's completely unnecessary. You have to understand this. I mean, that bill is completely unnecessary. The decision on gay marriage will never be overturned. It's completely different than Roe v. Wade and the Dobbs decision. This is where stare decisis would be decisive. I do not see the Supreme Court overturning that, because that would impact millions of people that have been acted on that. Roe v. Wade and the Dobbs decision was proactive. It's protecting life in the future. So again, this is just Democrats opening up a wound that had really healed. I've always been supportive of civil unions, but the Supreme Court ruled on gay marriage, and it's okay, that's the decision, let's move on.
As we look at what came out of the primary from Republican voters, and as you're campaigning and talking with Republican voters, what is the Trump impact here in Wisconsin? Whose Republican Party is this in the state?
First of all, my election's about me running as a U.S. Senator, dealing with the issues that are impacting Wisconsin.
Can you remove Trump from that?
I don't personally think Trump should have any impact whatsoever on this election in the November 2022. What he does in the future, that's a decision he's going to make. I understand why people want to always keep bringing him in, but again, this is about Wisconsinites, about how they are suffering under Democrat governance, Democrat policies. The higher inflation, the record gas prices, the open borders. I mean, I can keep doing that litany. That's what this election's about.
Johnson needing that message to register with not only his base,
how you doing? Nice to see you.
But a core group of independents who may still be undecided.
How close will this race be?
It's Wisconsin. It's going to be close. I take nothing for granted.
Charles Franklin is standing by with new insight into the U.S. Senate poll numbers in minutes. But first, the Gableman fallout, the firing, and now calls to audit the Office of Special Counsel. Democratic State Senator Melissa Agard is here next.